Hello everybody, Lawrence Fleming here. I don't have a full video to do. I'm going to do a catch up on what I've done, and I've got a story that's interesting, and that's how I'm going to finish off today, because I am tired, I am moved. Just as I put the tarp on, I didn't even have the tent stake down, a cloud burst happened, and so I had to get inside, and I just sat for an hour on a cooler. I didn't even have my chair in there yet. That's what you do. I had to break down in the rain, or just after the rain. I had like a 30-minute window, so I'm packing everything, and I was running it to the car, but everything was soaking wet because it had been raining all night. And I'm going to walk a little bit further in. Campsite that I would have loved to have had is the one I'm going to walk to now. I don't know if there's anybody coming in, but it's got a nice view of the lake. But you can hear cars. I'm back into a suburban campsite. This one I almost never camp at because it's so close to town. People come out here on the weekends and they just rent the campsite for beer and barbecue, I guess. I don't drink, but barbecue sounds good. Okay. They keep making steps in the wrong direction. We're not moving to correct any problems. Our Dr. Doom is stepping down from his government post. He's going out on top with the bad guys. They like what he did, and they're not going to send him off to nowhere. They're going to give him a high price, cushy job in the private sector, where he can tell them what to do and how he pulled this one off and how they can do that on the next one. So he's going to be out, but he's going to be well off. I'm not going to say his name, but it starts with an F. Dr. F. All right, let me see if I can turn around. So there's the lake. This is campsite 1. Campsite 2 is right above me, and then I'm campsite 3. And in the time that I was talking, I walked from my campsite to here, so they're fairly close. The only difference is this has got a relatively level walkway in, where mine's up on the hill, up on top up there. So I have to carry everything back and forth. Okay, I'm going to sit down. It looks like the benches are dry. These are metal, perforated metal, so they don't hold the water. Let me see if I can open this up. Sorry for jiggling it around. I just realized how tired I am, so I'm going to sit down for this. And I don't know I know where my microphone is, but I don't have it unpacked yet, so we're just going to kind of wing it. Hopefully you can hear me. I have a jet going over. Yes. We're back to town. Got an airport close by, the freeway's on the other side of the lake, and the roads coming in and out of here are busy with traffic. All right. I'm expecting them at some point in time to shut all these down, but hopefully God will keep them up until we can get to where we need to be, and hopefully it's this year. Nobody knows for sure. Everybody's guessing. Anybody who claims that they know the date, even if they said they've figured out that nobody in the world has ever figured it out, and they know it's not true, nobody knows. My shirt's all wet and droopy. We're not supposed to know. I keep saying this, and you got to tell everybody, nobody is going to know. Our first rapture, and there are 3, the first rapture to get us out of here before all this starts going, is to pull us out of the way from Satan sending a third of his angels down here and coming after the child, and the woman is going to be shortly thereafter fleeing into the east to a place already prepared for her. Petra? Could be. God's running that show, so I don't have to worry about it. And we'll be in heaven probably by the time that happens. It might happen almost simultaneously. But we're being raptured to get us away from Satan. He's coming down here to kill us, to attack us. He doesn't want us down here. He doesn't want us helping. So we're going to get out of here. I'm frankly hoping that we're going to be up there in time when he goes back up there and God says, that was the last straw. You should not have tried to kill my people. Pack your bags and get out of here. And that's where the war in heaven's going to happen. And Michael's going to take them on, along with all of his warriors. Are we going to go up there to be warriors? I don't know. I got people afraid of that. A prayer warrior is just as strong. So we're probably going to go up there to pray. But give me a lightsaber. I'd like to try it. Don't get too far from me, Jesus. I want to make sure that you're right there. Okay. At my other campsite, before I left, two guys came in, put their tents up right next to mine. I had to walk by them on the way in and out of my tent, so couldn't avoid them. They were taking a weekend away from the kids and the wives. They were both married and they were friends. So anyhow, going by one time, they invited me in for their chili dinner that they were cooking. So, and no, it wasn't my chili dinner. It was their canned chili dinner. Okay, I can cook a good chili, and I'll show you that at some point. I get one of my Dutch ovens out there, and I'll show you what it's like. And I've done it in the past, and I'll do cornbread as well. Good eatings when I'm cooking. Okay, but anyhow, that's what started it, but I'm going to go back and tell you quickly my testimony, because I'm going to have to connect the dots here for you. When I went in the Navy, they sent me to radar school, which is what I worked on a destroyer. They sent me to radar school in the San Francisco area. There was, at that time, a military base on Treasure Island. Basically, there's an island in the middle of the bay between Oakland and San Francisco. The Bay Bridge goes across it and it stops at it, so they didn't have to span the whole bay. And they came in during, I think it was the 36, what do you call that? Not Olympics, World's Fair. And they built a big island around Yerba Buena. They brought in a lot of fill dirt and filled it in, so there's a big flat area. And the military base was there. That was my school. My barracks looked out at San Francisco. So when I get back into my barracks at night, I'm looking at the skyline of San Francisco from the island. Beautiful. God was looking out for me. Okay. So while I'm going to school, we get to the weekend, and what do? There's nothing on the island to do for fun, so a bunch of us would take the bus in. And there was a bus every hour, and then it would come back every couple of hours on the way back to get you back to the base into San Francisco. So we'd go in there on the weekend and take in the sights, and there's, touristy traps all over the place, seafood out everywhere. I love seafood, so I was in heaven with that. But we're wandering around, and eventually, I'm sure these guys would find a place to get into trouble. And fortunately, there was a church outreach in Castro Valley there. At the time, it was called the Neighborhood Church, but then eventually it became, I think it's called the Three Crosses, because they had three, I think they're 75 foot tall, whatever they are, they're big. You can see them, it's not on a point, you can see them from the whole freeway system, valley area down below when you're driving by. But they sent a bus in to San Francisco to pick up wandering servicemen, to get us off the street, to let us play some games. It's kind of like a mini USO. They had hostesses, and while we were there, of course, we'd get our Sunday service and a little bit of preaching, and invitations were offered to everybody. Eventually I accepted, and I was baptized there. Unfortunately, the port of call that it was called is gone. The pastors, the lead pastor, Dr. Bielig, was there. He's gone. The one that ran the protocol, Dr. David Von Rotz, who also ran the organ music department. He's gone, so, and a lot of my friends that I've known for there are gone. That's the sad part. So I was kind of reminiscing about it, and that got me on the right track. There's more stories about it that I can continue on, but that's off the topic of what I'm talking about now. So anyhow, San Francisco, a bus takes me to Castro Valley, which is about an hour away from the city, maybe 45 minutes, depends on traffic. It's probably better back then. And so there was a lot of people that we met there, a lot of servicemen, a lot of friends that we made there. Unfortunately, because we're all servicemen, we all went different ways, and that was sad. And because it's on the West Coast, I was never able to really get back. My son lived there for a little while, but long after everything had already closed down. If you're in that area, check out the Three Crosses. And they're on Facebook, and you can see what they've got. But they don't do a service outreach anymore. They had a dorm next to it, next to the church, so we'd stay there for the weekend. Lots of singing and games, volleyball right next to the dorm, softball on Sunday afternoon after we go to church service. So that was Saturday. I don't remember what days we did what, but in any case, Sunday was probably all church. It was probably softball on Saturday. Anyhow, here I am. I'm in Georgia. I'm camping at state parks. I'm at a state park that's kind of in rural Georgia. It's in kind of the middle western side. It's hard to get to. It's not well known. And yet as I go in there and I'm having chili with these two guys in their campsite, we're talking about where we're from, and one guy's from San Francisco, and I go, well, I've lived in San Francisco, but I've also lived in the surrounding areas. And I threw out Castro Valley, and his eyes opened up, and I go, yeah, and I went to church there. And he goes, the Three Crosses? And I go, yeah. He goes, it's probably called the neighborhood church back then. I go, yeah, it was. And he goes, did you know, I don't think I want to mention names here. I mentioned it over on the Facebook side, but I don't think I'm going to mention names here because there's people around the world will see this. And I don't have permission to mention names. But anyhow, he mentioned it, did you know, I use first names, Tom and Nancy. And I go, of course, they were, there when I was there. They were all part of the port group, and we go out and do fun things. And he goes, well, Tom was my uncle. Now, who but God could arrange that? I'm on the other side of the country in a remote park, and this friend of mine who is with the Lord now, but it's his uncle. Crazy small world, and only God could have arranged that. And I was feeling a little homesick for those days when life was so much simpler. The world was still good. It wasn't going down the toilet like it is now. We were still, this was the 70s. That was a big revival for the Christians in California at that time and around the country. When I got into the Navy further on, and we were stationed in Southern California, I go to Calvary Chapel with Chuck Smith. It was just a great time. He'd have, I don't want to call them rock concerts, but he'd have the best Christian bands and folk singers, and everybody would be there on a Saturday night, and he'd have a concert. All the young people would show up, of which I was gladly one at the time. I was already a Christian, but it was fun, and we could see, a lot of hands would go up during the evening. And I managed to there was 4 of us Christians on my ship when we got back to port that were at least admitting it. And we actually got in 8 dorm together. So we had our music, Christian music playing, we'd do Bible studies. But to have someone's nephew show up here in the middle of Georgia, God just saying, I'm thinking of you, you were thinking of me. So isn't God great? He can arrange something like that. He can take care of us through anything. It's fixing to get really bad out there. It really is. Not for us, but for the world. I don't know if you saw my cartoon. I keep telling this, and then I finally drew up the cartoon because I just had to have it, where Lucy's holding the football and Linus is going to go kick the football, and I put names above them. That's what the rapture is. He's coming down here to kill us. What have I got? Something on my phone and I can't see what it is. Just a pop-up message telling me another app was closing down. But he's coming down here to kill us. It's the Revelation 12 sign. He's coming down here to kill us because he can get to us. And then when he's done with us, because we're the power. There's no power in Israel other than the promises that are still intact. But we have the power because we have the Spirit in us. We're the temples right now. They're going to want a new temple on the Temple Mount. The Jews are. But most of them aren't practicing. They're Jews by DNA, and they're there hiding out because the rest of the world wants to kill them. Well, Satan's waited till they've all got together. They're in one spot. Now, we're kind of harder to get to, but he's going to have a third of his angels. I don't know how many that is. I think he took a third of the original angels in heaven, defected with them, and now he's taking a third of those. I don't know how many that is, but it's got to be a lot. And he's also got his demons and all these other workers down here doing his bidding. He's not omnipresent. He has to have eyes around every place. But he's coming here to kill us. We've all got bullseyes on us. But don't worry. Do I look worried? I'm not worried. God is going to rapture us. Harpazo is the Greek word. Rapture is in Latin. It is in the Bible. He's going to get us out of here. And this is the first rapture. There's another one midway, and there's another one at the end. But it doesn't affect us. Don't worry about it. You can tell people that if they're sitting on the fence, they've got another rapture ahead of them to keep looking for. But they better make a decision. They've only got a limited amount of time, and people are going to be dying. When the seals start, one of them takes a quarter of the population of the planet. Our rapture is going to take, let's see, what would that be? Well, that would be a quarter. And is it going to be a quarter of what's left from the seal? I don't know. That's a lot of people. Billions of people. And then there's going to be a third with a trumpet. It's going to get bad. And that's not even the great wrath. The bowls are the wrath of God after the abomination. So we're fixing to head into that. But we're going to be out of here. Now, the question is it this year? It could be. It could also be next year. Is it any time? Obviously it could be, because it was any time during Paul's time. And it's still any time. So it could be today, it could be, next month. We got the Feast of Trumpets and the Fall Feast coming up. All those feasts are options. But I'm telling you that it's got nothing to do with the feast other than the fact that Satan is going to be doing something. So he may choose to disrupt one of the feasts. If he does, then it's going to match up with one of the feasts. But it's not tied to the feast. It's tied to Satan. And when he comes down here, Lucy's going to pull the football out of the way and he's going to be mad. He's going to go after Israel. And God's going to save Israel. And then God's going to say, okay, that you went too far, Satan. Pack your bags and get out of heaven. And of course, he's not going to want to do it willfully, so Michael's going to have to chase him out. It's going to be fun to be aware of these times safely from heaven. If you've got people down here, be praying for them. And hopefully you planted the seeds right. God gives you the seeds. All you got to do is plant them. If you do the watering, if the soil is good, they'll survive. Pray for them. Pray for them from now until they're in heaven with you. If you're praying for them, they've got to be good in them. Okay? Because if you love them and you're praying for them, there's got to be some good. If you can reach it and God can reach it, They'll be with you, so don't worry about them. Now, we all know people that are probably so far gone that they would never accept. Don't judge. Don't make that decision. Don't be casting the first stone. If you think somebody can't make it, pray for them. Maybe there's a spark in there somewhere. Okay? We have a month to see if these feasts are going to be, if you get into October, a couple of months. November is another big month because that's our U.S. election. And I am afraid of what's going to happen because of that for the people here. There's a game that I used to play a long time ago. I don't play video games a whole lot anymore. I may have something just because I'm trying to clear my head and I got to get out, and there's maybe too many people. And I'll pull up something. I'll play solitaire, anything, just to get my mind loosened up. And then until I get the tension gone, I can't get the spirit to connect. And if I can't get the spirit to connect, it doesn't do me any good to read the Bible. So once I get the tension down, and it doesn't take long, 20, 30 minutes, and I'm good. And I could be sitting and praying during that time, but I also, if I don't focus that energy on something inanimate like my little video games, and I don't play for hours and hours, no, I don't do that. That's wrong. Nobody should do that. Because you're not using that time for God. But in any case, the Bible is where I turn eventually. To God I always turn, but I may be talking to Him, God, help me to do this. And so I'm doing something just to distract my mind. Well, God will do that with all of us, what's coming up. So don't worry about it. Keep calm. If you find the tension building, find a quick release for that tension that doesn't harm anybody. Don't go drinking. That's not a way to do it. I don't drink. All of us Christians that have the Spirit in us, technically, we're priests. Kings and priests. Some priests, just the others. So whatever you are, priest is part of it. Now, what do you do if you're a king and a priest? Kings drink, but you're a priest and priests don't drink. So I don't know how that works out. Here comes some rain. Here comes some wind. Actually, this isn't rain. This is just water on the leaves because I hear the wind blowing in the trees. If I get up and start running, that's why. I'm going to keep talking while I can because I'm on a roll. I was on a roll anyway. But anyhow, one of the games that I used to play is called Fallout Shelter. And I grew up in Doomsday. In the 60s, you could buy a bomb shelter because they were expecting, nuclear war in the 60s. They were on street corners in LA, like there'd be a car lot, then there'd be a lot full of portable bomb shelters. Well, not portable, but small. You could put them in your front yard. You'd be in suburbia, all these houses packed in, and you could go put it in your front or your backyard. Backyard would probably be better, but you put the bomb shelter in, and your neighbor probably has one too. And if you saw the Twilight Zone episode where the guy actually built one in his house, and his neighbor comes in and breaks into it, that's what people are going to do. So don't be planning for that. But it taught me some planning in playing this game. Is you had to make sure that you balanced. You got to have electricity, you got to have water, you got to have food. You get too much of one, the other one's to get neglected. So it's a balancing act. You got to have just the right amount of people. You get too many people, that's a balancing act. That's what we've got to be doing now. Balance your time. If you've got a job, great. You're going to lose it eventually, but great. Your money's going to be worthless eventually, but right now it's not. So make sure you're stocking up, prepping, doing the things you need, fix the things that might be a problem if everything were to shut down. I don't think we're going to be here very long. If I had to put a bet down, which I don't bet, I grew up in Reno, Nevada. There's no gambling involved. But if I had to put a bet down, I would put a bet down that we're going out of here either next month or the following month. That's my guess. It's a guess. It's not prophetic. I didn't get this from anybody. That's my guess, just looking at the world. If I'm wrong, then it's probably next year. If we have to wait here another year, you better be prepping now, because the government is going to take everything away from you. The 2030 agenda, and I didn't mean to say it, I usually say it backwards. I hope I don't get blocked. Okay, that's coming. If you read it, it sounds socialistic utopia. But it's being run by the harlot, Mystery Babylon. So I don't have to say any more than that, I don't think. Yeah, cars. I can hear the freeway in the distance. I don't know if you can. But God is running things. There's nothing to be afraid about. He is above this whole timeline looking at it. He can see the beginning. He can see the end. He's God. He's above all this. He can see and be everywhere. Satan can't do that. But he's going to send his people down here to do that. We're safe. We have the rapture for us. Those that we've planted the seeds for, that are going to become Christians in the next phase. I'm not using tribulation. I've got to be careful about how to use that, because there's some question about that. And I've talked about it in one of my videos. Do we have 7 years or do we have 3.5? We don't know for sure, because someone's brought up that it could only be 3.5. And the arguments for prophetic stuff, arguments that match Scripture, well, there's got to be something to it. Now, whether it's right or not, this year will satisfy the 7-year. If it's not this year, then we may be looking at the split tribulation time frame. The Bible doesn't call the 7-year time frame tribulation. It doesn't. It's not wrath, it's not tribulation. The wrath is the second half of the 70th week of Daniel. I'm getting my names and numbers right now because I'm relatively rested. A couple of videos ago I was having trouble with saying just about anything. I'm working off a 3 hours sleep. It rained all night. There's a dog barking. I got to get a new battery for my sound masking headphones. So, the struggles I go through for you. Anyhow, thank you for being a good supporter for this site. I pray that I can keep it going as long as I can. Other people that I watch, one of the guys I watch just got out of YouTube jail. We got to watch what we say. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can. I'll play with the alphabet soup, and I'll scramble it up a little bit so they don't know what I'm talking about, but you will. Dr. Doom is gone. That's good news, sort of. But where's he going? Maybe he's going to have his little throne right next to the beast throne. No matter what the harlot does, though, it's temporary. But don't worry, it's going to get worse. The beast is going to kill the harlot and take over, because he doesn't want competition. He doesn't want to share. The beast is a clone, a copycat. Satan's son. God has a son in Jesus. Satan has a son in the beast, and we don't know his name yet. I don't know if we will before we get out of here. We're dealing with the harlot now, and the harlot and the beast don't work together. They don't like each other. Now, she said she may, I think she rides on him for a little bit. That probably pisses him off. And what's happening is going to piss off Satan. It's like, yes, that bum is about ready to get his dues, but so's the rest of the world. Got more messages coming in. Okay, I'm going to have to wrap this up. I've already seen my limit come in anyway, so sorry I didn't make the video this morning, but this rain is just going crazy. There's flooding in Texas, major flooding there. We've had some flooding here in Georgia. It's too much. It's just continuing. And when you get the lightning with it, I don't want to be on anything electronic. I don't want to be transmitting anything electronic. And I haven't been able to get a video out. So where I'm at now, I've got good, strong signal. So I'm going to start posting this as soon as I get through talking. So have a great week, everybody. I'm releasing this on Monday. It'll be out today, hopefully. If not, it'll be in the morning. God bless you all. Help me out with my fundraising. I'm almost there on my laptop. Check it out. It'll be in the description. It's in the description of my videos. You can help me out on Patreon. You can help me out with my laptop fund. You can also just pray for me. I need prayer every day because I'm fighting the devil, because the devil's a bum, and I'm calling him out. I've got Satan coming up behind me, but I've got Jesus sitting right next to me. But just in case I turn and look away, squirrel, pray for me. And pray for your family. Be prepping. And if your family's not all saved, stick tracts in amongst your prepping food, because they're going to need it. Both. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.